Noelle Essig with us. She is a college and career counselor for West Bloomfield High School. Great to have you with us.
Hi, Ronnie. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's hard to believe it was a year ago. I feel like I was on the show and we were a lot of unknowns. So here we are again. Thank you for having me.
Well, Noelle, we just, one of the headlines today, Bridge Magazine had a big article about less than 55% of the 2020 Michigan high school graduates enrolled in college within 6 months of getting their diplomas. A huge drop in the number of high school graduates going to college because of the pandemic. How are things looking this year, do you think? Is it going to be better next year?
I choose to believe it's going to be better. I think, nationally what we know, it was kind of with the pandemic and then the reality that there are less high school graduates graduating from high schools, and colleges were kind of prepared for that little bit of a burst that they were all going to be competing for students. And then the pandemic hit, and then students started to make some heavy decisions of, well, if I'm planning to go out of state or away from home, I'm going to be in my parents' house. That's not really that college experience. Do I want to put it off for a little bit? And I think at least in our high school, I didn't see so much students putting it off, but I think they were much more open to doing things differently. Where about 5 years ago, I felt like students and families were very caught up in name recognition. And I see a beautiful trend right now of, okay, looking at the cost of education, let's be open-minded. And I think with the pandemic, we saw students, maybe attending out of state, but doing it from their home. So there's more of an open-mindedness of, maybe I can look at doing things differently, looking at colleges where I could be rewarded for my grade point. So I see that as a trend more in our building right now anyway.
So is there a benefit for some of the students then if as many students aren't going to college, they might be able to get into some of their top picks of their universities, whereas maybe 5 years ago they wouldn't be able to?
Yes and no. So one of the things that we're seeing is, so nationally there are less students applying for college. However, those that are applying to many more than they ever have in the past. So with colleges going test optional, or many of them using, not having that set score that they must have or see to look at, more students, those individual students, instead of applying to 3 schools or 5 colleges, which we would see in the past, they're applying to 10 or 15. So college applications are up at our most highly selective colleges in the United States. So those admissions personnel are very overwhelmed because they have many more applications to look at. So it's just that piece of it has changed. So I don't know that it's necessarily gotten any easier to get into those highly selective schools. But for our colleges that are not as selective, I think we're seeing that there's more merit opportunities available and some, great opportunities. We're fortunate in Michigan. We've got many awesome colleges for our students to choose from. So many of them choose to stay in state.
Noelle Essig with us. She's the college and career counselor at West Bloomfield High School. Noelle, I feel like there's so much pressure on high school students to figure out what they want to do now. When I was going to school, you went to college to figure out what you wanted to do. Now they're really having to say, no, I want to go into this, because even if you go to Michigan State, there's different schools within Michigan State. Are they still feeling that pressure, or because of COVID-19, has that started to relax a little bit?
I think that pressure is real. When we look at the cost of college, I agree with you. When I went away to Central Michigan as an undergrad, I loved everything. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was able to kind of flounder a little bit. I took a couple summer courses to get myself back on track once I figured out what I wanted to do. But the reality now that college is so expensive that we're really encouraging our students, starting in middle school, let's do career exploration. Take advantage of what we have here at the high school. We're fortunate we have a 7-hour day. So there's room for electives for our students. And there's, just this huge variety of electives that I didn't have at my high school. I think high schools have stepped up with trying to give our students opportunities for career exploration. So yeah, I do think that there's a little more pressure to try and figure it out just so that you can make sure that you graduate as quickly as possible due to the cost of it. But certainly, colleges still have those general education classes that students are required to take with the idea of helping you explore and figure it out so that you're not far behind. But yeah, we really push our students, take advantage of exploring, doing internships, whatever it is that you can do, take a variety of classes while it's free. And then taking advantage of career search tools that we have at our school. Oakland County has a wonderful resource called Zello. There's some things we require our students to do. And, I have sons myself, so I know some of them, they don't take it seriously and they just click, click, click to check it off the box. But we really say, invest in yourself. Use this as an opportunity to really get to know yourself and do these career surveys. So we're pushing hard to help students take it seriously, but we know there's a maturity aspect as well, that you're just young. How do you know? But we also know statistically that students are changing career pathways, or adults are changing career pathways. I've changed careers, many of us have. So it's not like our grandparents' generation where wherever you started that first job, you worked your 30 years and you retired. So there's that flexibility and pivot, which I think we're working hard with in schools and in colleges to help our students.
So what are you seeing this year compared to years past about how some of these students are going about getting into college? Is community college more attractive right now?
I see a much more openness to considering the community college, yes. And I think we've also, we've got some hidden gems right here in our community with awesome community colleges. And they've worked hard to have transfer programs with our four-year universities. There are certain majors that it's hard to start off at the community college because you have classes that build upon each other. So we always tell our students, if you know what you want to do, you always check in with that four-year university. If you decide to pursue the community college first, make sure that you have a very carefully thought out plan so that you, in trying to save time and money, you don't end up actually hurting yourself. But I think there's a more openness. I think what's happened as well, Ronnie, we know that many parents that graduated that are in my age, maybe 10 years younger than me, that have children that are going through this process, they're still paying off their own student loans. So I think years ago, there wasn't maybe the willingness to consider the community college as a viable option, but I think families are seeing, hey, I'm still paying off, not me, but many parents are still paying off their student loans, and they're like, we need to rethink how we do this. So I think I see students refreshingly chasing merit, trying to be rewarded for their grades, and just staying open-minded until they get their financial aid package from each college and then making a decision. And I tell students, when you go on the college tours or you visit, don't go into the bookstore, take a look around, but don't buy that sweatshirt yet. Wait until you know with your financial mind what makes sense for you before you get too emotionally invested in a college. See the final numbers.
And how are they doing college visits right now? It's a little bit different than 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, right. By this point, a lot of our juniors would have already been on college campuses. That's what we would be saying for spring break. But colleges are opening up. We are finding that more and more colleges are doing restricted, smaller numbers of tours. All of the colleges by now, a year later into our pandemic, have beautiful videos. But as we know, that's not the same as getting up on a college campus. The tours that are on the websites, they're polished. They're, the most beautiful buildings and polished everything. It's all marketing. So we really need kids to get up on the college campus and walk around. I don't know of any campus that wouldn't let you, as long as you were, following their protocol of wearing a mask, that would not let you walk around campus. There's a lot of self-guided tours that are available from their websites. And then, if possible, and you're outside, talk to students that are there. They're going to be honest about what they love and what they don't love. But you're right, it's been a challenge right now for students to get up on campus.
So we know that there's been a big push recently with the state of Michigan to try to offer free scholarships to frontline workers, but also older Michigan residents to at least get them their associates. Do you have any students, or do you see a trend where students are starting to get interested in more of these trade schools, or is it still pretty much that 4-year typical college education?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So we know in the state of Michigan, there's going to be a crisis to some extent with the lack of skilled trades. And so we always, as counselors in our building, are always talking about let's make sure we throw that into the mix, consider the trades. You know, we do some comparisons of salaries versus this 4-year degree versus, you know, get into the trades and you can be paid day one, you get benefits, all of that. So following those dreams, I do see a little openness, not as much as I'd like. But we're plugging away. We know there's a huge job demand, and we know that many of those jobs are going to make a lot more money than some of our 4-year degree. Now, again, you've got to be passionate about it. You've got to be something that you want to do. But I do see that, you know, kids now are coming around and saying, hey, can we talk about this? Let's talk about the skilled trades. And I'm working on trying to get someone in to talk to our students about ways that you can do that. So yeah, it's definitely something that we put on the table.
Noelle Essig with us. She's the college and career counselor over at West Bloomfield High School. And with that side, recruiting is a little bit different now. So how is that going to try to get some of these students interested, or at least open their minds to industries and careers maybe that they didn't know about, that if you had one of those typical career days or career fairs, they would be on site to be able to speak with students one-on-one?
Yeah, I do miss the field trips. We were doing a really nice job of taking advantage of things in our area and, you know, getting buses of students and taking them on site. But a blessing, I would say, with our Zoom world, you know, we've all, you know, a year ago, we really didn't know much about Zoom, and now here we are and we're experts. I really feel like programs that I've done through my area have been better attended than what they would be if they were held during the school day, because now I'm scheduling all of my presentations, if I can, outside of our school day so that students aren't missing class. They Zoom in from wherever they're at. They can listen in. Even our parent presentations we're doing via Zoom. And I know myself as a busy mom, you know, I can listen in from my phone as I'm waiting to pick up my child from practice. So I think that we've turned a positive opportunity to being able to Zoom in professionals from all over the United States and have them right here where our students have access to them and asking questions, where before our mindset was, oh, that rep had to come into our building. And now we're like, oh, let's Zoom them in. And that's how we did all of our college rep visits this past fall. We have sessions set up this spring. Right now I'm working with my juniors and doing presentations on, you know, building your resume, scholarships, how to send your transcripts, how to select college searches, how to ACT, SAT prep. So all of these workshops are being completed during Zoom. And I think my turnout has actually been far better than what it would be here in our building, because students can join me wherever they're at.
So an upswing to the pandemic, that maybe that portion couldn't stick around once we get on the backside of this. Noelle, any last advice that you want to give to parents and students right now as we go into this new, round out the school year, get into the new school year, and they're looking at their futures?
Yeah, I would say, number one, stay open-minded in this process. Don't get your heart set on one particular school. Parents, we have to talk to our children about our ability or our inability to help our children paying for their education. You know, I'm the mother of 4 children. I've got twins that are seniors. We had conversations early on about, okay, here's what we've been able to save for you. You know, here's what you're able to take out in student loans, or what we're not co-signing, or what we are. So I think that parents, we owe it to our children to have a conversation early on about what the numbers need to be. you can go out on any website and put the name of the college in and go net price calculator, and you can get an estimate for that particular college. Utilize your counseling departments. Follow me at WBHS Counseling on Twitter. Go to our West Bloomfield High School counseling page. All high schools have means of communicating. Get to know the counselor if you haven't, but know that we're here to help you. And you know, it's an exciting time. It's scary, but get going early on it so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed.
And take advantage of the resources that are available to you now.
Yes, please.
Noelle, it's always great having you with us.
Thank you. I get the senior the last minute right now saying, Mrs. Essig, I've missed it all. What can I do? And I'm still happy to help them, but I just know that they've missed out on opportunities. So thank you for that last little bit of advice.
It's never too early to start. We always appreciate your time.
Thank you.